Hey, everybody. So I am just going to sit back for a minute, let you guys have a chance to get in here, and then we're going to dig right in. I do have a lot to cover, and so my thought is I had originally intended to go live earlier today and then again tonight. That did not get to happen. So my thought process is I may need to do a second live either, I don't know, later this evening or early tomorrow morning. So I'm going to wait and just give it a second to see and get everybody in here. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Chris. How is everybody? You guys doing good? What's up, cuz? Hey, Terry. Hey, Anthony. How are you guys? Hey, Frida. Hey, Don. How is everybody? Y'all doing all right? I know it's Friday night and it's 8 o'clock. Hey, Evie. How are you? Hi, Daryl. I love you back. Love you back, chick. Hey, Tanisha. Hi, Michael. You guys doing okay? Last night was a little bit, had a lot going on, didn't it? Like lots of emotion, lots of, lots of real conviction. I'm going to talk about all that. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Lisa. Hi, Caitlin. I know. Okay, I know, Josh. I do. I really do. So I want to take some time. You liked my departure? Yeah, I couldn't do anymore. And here was the thing, once, the mayor had asked, opened it up for questions, and, and I'd had my hand up several times, and he just kept, skipping over me. And then when he finally said, despite everyone saying my name, like Danny, like wanting me to be able to ask the question, when he literally denied me the chance to speak, I was like, well, why am I sitting here? You know what I mean? Like, I'm out. So, hey, Angie. Hey, Katie. How is everybody? You guys doing good? Okay, so I want to go ahead and I want to talk a little bit about last night. Well, Crystal, that's because they kept the camera on Alan Levine last night. So that's part of what I wanted to clear up. If you were watching the live stream last night, right around the 2-hour and 20-minute mark, Alan Levine is answering the last question of the night, and you heard people start to clap. And it gives the impression, because WJHL chose not to show you what was happening in the room, WJHL kept the camera directly on Alan Levine. So when you heard this applause happening, you thought it was in response to, or it could give the impression that it was in response to whatever he was saying in that moment. But here's the deal. What was happening in that moment when you heard people clapping, that was me leaving. Whenever you hear there was a glass bottle, it was not my bottle, but there was a bottle that apparently was in the aisle that I was in. So when I got up to leave, my foot kicked that bottle, and he was talking at that time. And so people started applauding me walking out on him, and the camera chose to keep looking at Alan. They chose not to pan and show what was happening in the room. So what was happening in the room was I left. That's what happened. People started applauding that I left, and then people started getting up to leave as well. So that's what happened. That's why, and make no mistake about it, I've already sent a message to Jackie DeFusco at WJHL. Now, let me just clarify. She was not the person that was actually covering it. It was someone else that was covering it. But I did send her a message, and I said, you guys were pretty biased in your camera footage last night in what you chose to show and what you chose not to show. And it gave the wrong impression. It gave the impression at the end that somehow people were applauding what Alan was saying. No, they didn't miss Hunter. So like I left, and I actually went outside of the room, and Hunter stayed in. Now he left a couple of times. Hunter and I were sitting in the same row, 3 people apart last night. Now here's what's funny, not funny, but really, really interesting, is when I came into the building, I came in about 9 minutes before we got started. When I came in, the majority of Levine's, the Ballad Health folks were on the front row. I was sitting in the 3rd row. So the 3rd row behind them, maybe a couple of seats over. And there was no one sitting basically in that 2nd row in between us. There were a couple of people to my left, but no one else. And then literally within minutes of me sitting down, Tim Bradshaw and I, we took our seats. And then someone who's a member of Ballad Security came and sat in the second row, like in front of me, 2 seats to the right. And then there was security sitting behind my row as well. So, you know, I'm not really sure what that was about. I don't think that I've ever made any sort of physical threat or composed or conducted myself in any such manner that would indicate that that would be necessary. But, you know, I think maybe it was hopeful thinking on their part that they would have a reason to escort me out or to do something in of such fashion. But it didn't happen. And, you know, so I'm sure that might have been disappointing to some folks. But anyway, that did happen. So, so here's what I don't want to go into a lot about last night. I want to cover some specific things, but I really want to get into what I really want to talk about last night is some of the data that was used, some of the verbiage that Alan Levine used, some of the things that he said that was just flat out inaccurate. And you have to be really good and listen to the language that he chooses to use. Alan has been at this game for a really long time. He loves to be heard and he loves to speak. And so if you listen to him, he says a lot of the same things a lot of the time. But what I really want to talk about are the things, the verbiage that he used and the things that were just absolutely incorrect. I do like the way that he stutters right before he tells a new lie. Like that I did notice. But here's what I want to talk about. So last night you heard a lot about population growth in this area. You heard a lot about declining birth rates in this area. You heard a lot about declining birth rates, but increase of use in our hospitals. You heard a lot of those things, right? And so one of the things that I want to talk about is overall in this region, do we have a declining birth rate? We do. Well, because younger people tend to leave who have the ability to do so. That tends to happen from this area. We do have an older population and those sorts of things. Hey, Roger. But here's the thing, okay? So here's what you do. What you don't do is look at your population, look at your geographic service area, and then make changes to that care that goes against what they are. Check this out and listen, guys. That goes against what those things are and try to make the population benefit your hospital profits the way that you want it to. To me, if you're building a hospital system, if you're building a healthcare system, you keep hearing Levine use this word system, right? Whether it's trauma system, whether it's NICU system, you keep hearing him use this term, the system of care. If you are truly building a system of care that is for the people, that covers your entire geographic service area, you do that based on your population, what you currently have, what are your greatest needs. So for example, when he says things like we need to build pediatric emergency rooms because we had 20,000 pediatric emergency visits between Bristol and Kingsport last year. Well, let's take just that one thing, okay? And I want to break this down for you. Those 20 to 30,000 pediatric visits that were in Bristol and Kingsport of last year were pretty much pediatric urgent care visits. We don't have a lot of pediatric trauma in our area. What we have is we have a population that is 18 to 40% poverty, living at the poverty level. That's how many people we have living at the poverty level. So what happens when you're living at that income level is most people don't go to the doctor regularly. They don't have primary care physicians. They use the emergency room like it's their doctor's office. So a lot of those visits that were pediatric emergency room visits weren't emergency room visits. They weren't pediatric traumas. They weren't pediatric emergencies. They were babies that could have been seen at a primary care, urgent care, had those folks had one and had those urgent cares been open and available. Do y'all understand? So when you use data like this and you say, oh, well, we had 20,000 pediatric visits last year in the emergency room, so that justifies us having two pediatric ERs, it's BS. It's absolutely BS, okay? So we have to start to really look at, like, okay, so is it a fact? This is what I talk about. Like, is it a fact that we had 20,000 pediatric ER visits? Yes. Does that fact mean that we need 2 pediatric ERs? No, it does not. And we do not need pediatric trauma. Now okay, so I'm gonna adjust this. I'm gonna talk about this one really, really quickly. There has only been one study. There has only been one study that talks about about pediatric trauma, and hey, Christy, and that there's been shown to be any benefit to outcome, any improved outcome by having pediatric trauma. Now, here's what's interesting. In every single one of these cases where there was found to be any improvement in the pediatric trauma, it was because that pediatric trauma unit was already attached to an independently standing children's hospital, and it was a verified trauma center. So if you are not a pediatric verified trauma center, there's no data, there's no study that indicates that that pediatric trauma is going to have any better of an outcome than a regular trauma facility or a regular children's hospital for children in pediatric care. Those are the facts. That I got that information from the National Library of Medicine and the National Institute of Health. I can read, okay? So here's the thing, the trauma center that we have now, both of them are not even verified trauma centers. Alan spoke to that fact last night. The idea, so if we have trauma centers, adult trauma centers, that we have yet to be able to get them verified, how in the world are we going to lure pediatric trauma surgeons and pediatric surgeons here and get that verified? What you hear a lot is we plan to. You know, in 2 to 3 years, in 8 to 10 months, what we hope to do, what we envision, what we see happening. Well, you don't change services. You do not reduce and eliminate things that are working based on what you foresee, what you envision, what you hope to have happen. Because while you do that, people's lives are in the balance. It's just that simple. Okay? Now, one of the things that, one of the other conversations that I had with Gary Miller and some other folks in this conversation when we're talking about, so they brought up Charlotte. They also have brought up to me Atlanta. Oh, well, they only have one level 1 trauma. They also have supporting level 2s in the area within 20 to 30 miles. That's what they have. So for example, in Charlotte, North Carolina, you have level 2s. I believe in Shelby and Gastonia. I think, don't quote me on that. But you have level 2s that support. Also, here's what you don't have. You do not have the same rural communities. So like Gary Miller and I were having this conversation, and he said, well, you know, Danny, think about Atlanta, think about rush hour traffic. And I said, Gary, listen to me. Rush hour happens twice a day in the city of Atlanta, twice a day. These rural back roads are 24/7. They ain't going nowhere. It is not changing. And he was like, oh, well, you know, you do have a point. Yes, I do. You have to start to think about this. This is not Charlotte. This is not Nashville. This is not Knoxville. This is not Asheville even. You know, this region is unique in its own. And one of the things that concerns me, is I went back reading a document from October of 2017 when Alan Levine met with Dr. Levine, who was over the Virginia State Health Department. And he made this statement, and I want you guys to hear me. He made this statement, and he said, we don't see state lines. We consider this to be one geographic service region. Well, that's a mistake, because we do have state lines, which means we do have differential state guidelines about how things have to be done. So it sounds great to say, oh, well, we're just going to consider this one big region, but you cannot. It's not one big region, and there are rules and there are laws about how things have to be done. So this idea that he keeps spewing, that he's going to be able to make EMS one big, huge system, it's not going to happen. Listen to me. The only way that he can do that is if they privatize our EMS system and put our county EMS out of business, which I happen to think is part of the plan. But that's the only way that you can do that. So I need for you all to understand some of the things that he's talking about, aren't legally possible as the laws currently exist. Now, what we have seen before is Ballad Health has a few politicians in their pocket who are all the time passing bills and legislation to amend and modify and give them exceptions to this process. What I'm telling you is that if that happens in this case and they privatize EMS, it's even more of a monopoly now then than it is now. And now it's a nightmare, okay, if you guys don't know this, okay? So I just want you all to really hear me and understand. Tonight is not about me bitching about last night's meeting, because that's not productive. You all saw it. You all know what happened last night. Everybody knows where the mayor stands. Everybody knows who's who and who the players are in the game. Alan Levine did exactly what he said he was going to do, right? He said, I'm going to filibuster. And had Jennifer not stopped him at 8:03, he finished his trauma presentation. And he said, if you don't mind, I'm going to go right on into the NICU. And she said, wait. Let's take some questions. Let's address trauma. Had she not done that, the mayor was going to let him continue going. That's what the mayor was going to let him continue to do. And if you remember, so listen, there were only maybe a total of 5 to 6 questions asked last night. Alan Levine answered none of them. Neither did anyone on his staff. The only correct full response and answer that was given was by Dr. Spivey, because neither Alan Levine nor Dr. Testerman or anyone else on Ballad's team knows what the rules and the guidelines for EMS are and what happens right now if you have a level 1 trauma and you're in Kingsport. Roger, honey, yeah, I did a live on the email a few days ago when it first came out. Well, so here's, okay, I can tell you all this. I have the email. Here's what I won't do. I'm not going to post it, only because, and I'm going to share with you all why I have been asked not to post the email just yet. These emails can sometimes lead to being traced and so forth and so on. But, and so, you know, here's my thing. I want people to be able to give information in any way possible that is helpful to us. So this is one of the reasons why, here's what I will say to you all. Everything that I've told you, I provide you documentation, I show you. I'm gonna need you to trust me that I'm looking at the email. And how about this? This is what I'm gonna show you from the email. Can we just do this part? I'm gonna show you just a little bit of it. So, whoops, hold on. Do you see that? There's the email. Can y'all see that? And it says proposed format December 6th. You can see that, right? And now I'm going to show you this. I've got to be real careful. See this where it says I can present for 2.5 hours? Let me show you this. That's called a filibuster. And I will do it. Do y'all see that? Okay, so I'm not going to post it, but I just showed you the email. I just showed you the email, okay? It's real. It happened. He said it. He did it. That's it, okay? Now, moving on. I want to talk about real stuff, okay? Is everybody okay with that now? When the person who's communicating with me about the email says, okay, go ahead and post it, I will do that. I don't want to do that before then, because here's the deal. When you all send me things, I would be doing this if it were you. If you put your neck on the line, if you stick your neck out to get information to people who need it, my job is to put that information out in a way that still protects you, that still makes sure that you're good, because I want you to, A, keep your employment, be able to take care of your family. You know, I want your livelihood to be protected at the same time that I want to get information out. So for me, like if I just wanted to be like, if it was the Danny show, I'd be posting everything that people sent me, but it's not that. I want to be responsible with the information that you give me. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't put out on lives. People think that I have, and I have not, because that information is being sent elsewhere. Like today, I sent information to the FTC, right? I want y'all to understand something about what the FTC can and cannot do right now. Because our states granted a COPA to Ballad Health, the FTC, it basically gave them what is known as state action antitrust immunity. In other words, Ballad Health, to some degree, as outlined within the COPA, is protected from normal antitrust violations. Does that make sense? Now, what does that mean? It means there are some things that are in this COPA that they are not supposed to do that would be considered antitrust, which would be violations of the COPA, which would be possible for the FTC to act on if the COPA isn't doing that, right? And I'm going to give you an example because y'all know I'm a bit of a reader when it comes to this COPA. And okay, sorry, I had stuff pulled out here earlier. Okay, never mind. I put it down here in another stack. But listen. So one of the things that it talks about is if another physician from a competing area needed to use their facilities, that Ballad wouldn't interfere with that and that they wouldn't charge them above whatever the normal rate is for that. Another thing is that people are supposed to still have patient choice. In other words, not just what hospital you're treated at, but if you're in the hospital. Now listen to this, guys. This is very important, okay? This is very important. So patient choice is incredibly important because Ballad Health is not the only, they are not the only OBGYN service around here. They are not the only home health service around here. They are not the only hospice service around here. They are not the only medical rehab facility around here, right? Now, there are things in this COPA that stipulate to them what they can and cannot do regarding those other areas where competition is concerned. So in those specific areas, and there's lots of them throughout the COPA, those are opportunities that if COPA oversight is not managing them properly and is not calling out violations when they are present, then that is something that the FTC can find actionable. So what I have done is start to take a look at what those areas are, and where I can, and with the help of people who have information, I have been able to say, okay, so I think that we have found a couple of places where antitrust may absolutely be an issue in several areas. And in doing so, I have a personal contact, one-on-one contact at the FTC. And what I did was just picked up the phone and I left a voicemail and said, here's what I've uncovered. Here's the documents that I have. I do think that this is what it is. Let me know if you think that this is what I think it is. And if it is, let me know, give me your email address and I will send you the documents. Shortly after that, my telephone rang and that person said, I'm calling to give you my email address. And I said, awesome. And so I sent the email with those documents. That person responded back shortly after reviewing those documents and said, thank you for sending us this information. So less people think that I'm here just to talk and to rant and to get people ramped up. No, you better believe that I'm not sharing every single piece of information and data that I have on these lives. I'm sharing just enough so the public is aware of what's happening or that something is happening, just enough to let people know that there is something that is worth fighting for, and just enough to let people know you keep pushing and you keep fighting. On that note, this is something that is incredibly important that I need every single person on this live to do. So in order for the Attorney General's office to open an investigation, there has to be a significant number of consumer affairs complaints. Now, earlier this week, I posted screenshots about how to properly file a consumer affair complaint. If you need help, I will help you file one. It is essential that you do. Now, let me tell you something. When you file the consumer affairs complaint online, I want you to create an account and say yes to the email communication, because when you do that, they are going to email you your complaint number. Listen, guys, I want you all to stop chatting. Don't post any comments right now. I want you to listen to me. I want you to listen to me. Don't post any other comments. Listen to what I need you to do and why I need you to do it. Because I don't want to talk about, you know, everything else. Right now, this is big. This is how we make something happen. Okay? So you ready? So listen. This is how you make something happen. Listen. So what happens is when you create an account for consumer affairs and then you file your consumer affairs complaint, you get an email with your complaint number. What I'm going to ask everyone to do is to email me your complaint number. And my goal is to get at least 40 consumer affairs complaints. Now, the reason why I'm choosing that number, right, is not because that's what the Attorney General's office gave me, but here's what I know. What I know is that if you're going to file like a class action lawsuit, you have to have a minimum of 40 plaintiffs. You have to have a minimum of 40 people on the cause. So my thought process is, if it takes 40 people to get a class action lawsuit, if you have 40 consumer affairs complaints about the same issue, then I can then contact the Attorney General's office, who I've spoken to several times, or the governor's office, who's also called me back, and I can then say, hey, I have 40 complaint numbers about this issue in this region. Why haven't you opened an investigation? Where's the Attorney General on this? What is happening on this? And that gives us grounds. And if the Attorney General doesn't do something, then that's when you go to the DOJ and you say, listen, there has been enough complaints for a class action lawsuit. Your Attorney General's office hasn't opened an investigation. We believe that there's something going on there. And then that's when you get the DOJ involved. Am I making sense to y'all now? Do y'all see the plan? So my goal is to attack this from several issues, from several areas, because that's exactly what Ballad Health is doing. Is your head not spinning from all the changes? Like every day it's something new. It's a trauma center, it's a NICU, it's the cancer treatment center, it's a hospital being repurposed. So they've got your head spinning. And my whole thing is, okay, so what are the areas where I can dig in and find some grounds to be able to open an investigation, or to have a COPA violation, or to any of those things. So, well, Virginia, you will file one in your state. Okay, I want Virginia folks to file consumer affairs complaints in your state. As a matter of fact, in the top of my very last live, I put the link to Virginia and Tennessee consumer complaints. And I want all of those consumer complaint numbers. I want all of them, guys, because I mean, this is what I believe is how we get something done. Okay, now I also want to share some additional information. Today was another one of those days where the national news organization that I have a direct line of communication with reached out to me, because I sent them some of the same documents that I have sent to the FTC, as well as some other documents that I was able to obtain. And this is what they said. They came back and said, wow, you have some really great sources. You're doing a great job. They asked me to provide some more information. And so that open line of communication is going very well as well. So for me, this is the Danny approach, okay? So the Danny approach is FTC violations that are occurring within the COPA, and the COPA isn't overseeing them, isn't noting them as violations, which gives grounds for the FTC to step in. Consumer affairs complaints that lead to an Attorney General investigation, right? That's another thing. And if the Attorney General doesn't do that, then you go DOJ, right? And then you also talk about national news, right? So you keep putting things out there. You keep making all of those things happen. Michelle, so a lot of people are talking about, oh, I heard 150 physicians are filing suit. All of those things are speculation. And I don't know if it's true or not. What I can tell you is that there are medical professionals who are filing complaints, who have written letters to different agencies and things like that. Do I know of anyone who at this moment has filed a lawsuit? No. Do I know that people are talking about it? Yes. But has anything been done? No, not that I know of. Okay. So and I think so here's the thing, guys. Okay, so I'm going to bring y'all down a notch just because I feel like I really need a reality check. So physicians filing suit about what? About what, on what grounds, and what does it mean for you guys if they do? Sonia, I will be happy to look at that and help. So listen, yes, Crystal, absolutely, more than once. And I'm going to address that. Crystal, remind me, and I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But let me tell you guys something. I'm going to share a piece of information with you that may sound at first a little disheartening, but I need you to understand, because you have to know who you're dealing with. So everyone knows that Alan Levine came from, thank you, Angie. Alan Levine came from a company called HMA, Health Management Associates. Most all of you know by this point in time that Health Management Associates just struck a deal with the DOJ for a 3-year non-prosecutorial agreement to the tune of $260 million for Medicaid false claims. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Prior to that case, okay, HMA had never lost a civil lawsuit. They'd had them. HMA had been sued by employees. They had been sued by physicians, and they had never lost. I need y'all to hear me, because this is where Alan Levine comes from. HMA had never lost a lawsuit. And this one is the first one that they lost, and they lost it when the DOJ became involved. Now, here's what I need you to understand. The DOJ took over that lawsuit in 2014, and they just settled in 2018. It was years upon years upon years upon years of investigations and things like that. So when we think about lawsuits, that's not an end-all be-all, right? That's not a quick fix. So I need for you all to really understand that, you know, when we say somebody file a lawsuit, there's so many pieces to that. And am I saying that there is or isn't a need for a class action lawsuit? I'm not saying that there isn't a need for it. And I'm not saying that at some point in time it won't be in the public's best interest to do that. I'm not saying that. Quite possibly, from the attorneys that I've talked to 2 attorneys. Both of them are healthcare attorneys. From the attorneys that I've talked to, they have said, absolutely, you guys are going to need an attorney at some point. And we've talked about what kind of attorney that is and all those types of things. But, you know, my thing is like I said, a multi-pronged approach. So I just want you all to stick with me and hear what I'm telling you about the different avenues. So the biggest takeaway that I want you to take away from tonight's live is you absolutely must file your complaints with Consumer Affairs. You must file your complaints with Consumer Affairs. When you do that, I want you to get your consumer complaint number. You'll have a file number for your complaint. When you get that, I need you to email it to me or messenger it to me, because I want to be able to keep a record of all of those that have been done so that we can use that as leverage to have the Attorney General's office open an investigation. Okay? So that's necessary. It's something that I've discussed with the governor's office. It's something that, you know, we have been told, hey, this is a crucial step that you guys need to make happen, because what they need to know is that you guys are serious enough to spend 20 minutes figuring out how to do a freaking online complaint, and that you're not just bitching and moaning for no reason in your emotions because there's change coming. Got it? You have to be committed. And the way that you show people you're committed is you file these complaints. Now, along that line, Crystal, you said, should you file more than one? And I say yes. And I say that you file more than one in different areas. So I'm putting together a second one tonight, actually tomorrow. And so like the first one that I did was all about the COPA violations or the conflicts of interest, right? So where you talked about John Dreisner, Jana Dreisner, Rusty Crowe, Terry Kilgore, Gary Hicks, David Davis, all of those different things, right? So that was the first live, the first complaint that I really typed up. And then I started to talk about the NICU and the traumas and so forth. This next one that I want to do is going to be more about some areas. So you hear them talking about this plan, this care plan. You've heard Alan mention that a few times, right? That we have to have these care plans. Well, I want to tell you, I don't know what I just did with it, but okay, so let me give you this. So I want to read to you all about the Certificate of Need and the State Health Plan. You're welcome, Will. So listen, I want to talk about the State Health Plan, and I want to give you specifically with regards to the NICU, 4 things that it says. And then I'm going to share with you why I believe closing down the Holston Valley Medical Center NICU is a violation of the COPA, and it violates this State Health Plan. Listen to what it says, folks. I'm going to read it, so I'm not going to be able to see you guys. So just listen to me, and then I'll be back in just a second. Okay, the Certificate of Needs and Criteria serve to uphold the 5 principles for achieving better health set forth by the State Health Plan. Utilizing the 5 principles for achieving better health during the development of the Certificate of Needs standards and criteria ensures the protection and promotion of the health of the people of Tennessee. The State Health Plan's 5 principles for achieving better health are, number one, healthy lives. The purpose of the state health plan is to improve the health of the people in Tennessee. Number two is access. People in Tennessee should have access to health care and the conditions to achieve optimal health. That's important. Number three, economic efficiencies. Health resources in Tennessee, including healthcare, should be developed to address the health of the people in Tennessee while encouraging value and economic efficiencies. Number four, quality of care. People in Tennessee should have confidence that the quality of care is continually monitored and standards are adhered to by providers. Number five, workforce. Listen, workforce. The state should support the development, recruitment, and retention of a sufficient and quality health workforce. Now, when you talk about getting rid of this level 3 NICU, right? When you talk about getting rid of this NICU, I want you to understand something, okay? Okay, I included an attachment, guys. Just put your verbiage in there and then include an attachment. But listen to me. For me, this NICU, if you downgrade this NICU to a level 1 nursery and you move the level 3 NICU down to, yeah, Jessica, if you move the level 3 NICU to Johnson City, you go against the state health plan for neonatal units. You do. And here's why. So Holston Valley Medical Center's NICU between July of 2017 and June of 2018 had 66 NAS babies. NAS babies are babies who are going through withdrawal because they have been exposed to drugs while they're in the womb. Now, listen to this. So I want y'all to listen, okay? Well, remember, that's not the COPA that I'm reading. That is the state health plan on which Alan Levine was quoting last night, okay? So, hey, Tim, I got that. I got it. And listen, and I have some Virginia information for you. Just give me a second, folks. But here's what's really important. He talks about this healthcare plan and quality care and all this good stuff in the system, but what he's doing will directly go against what the state health plan for the certificate of needs. Now, why is that important? Listen to me. Listen, guys, listen. Stay with me. Listen, I know you guys have so much to say, but I want you to listen. Okay, in the COPA specifically says that there is nothing in the COPA that allows Ballad Health to go against the certificate of needs. Listen, y'all, are you listening to what I just said? There's language in the COPA that says that this COPA does not allow Ballad Health to go against what's required for the certificate of needs. What's required for the certificate of needs is the state health plan. Okay, so think about this. When we talk about access to care, when we talk about workplace employment, right, and keeping and retention and all of those things, closing down this NICU and downgrading the level 1 trauma center at Holston Valley does neither of those two things. It does neither of those two things. So this is why I say you have to be smart and read the entire COPA and find these little niches, because this is a little conduit in there. Like the COPA literally says, this is not an excuse. This is not a reason. We are not giving you permission to go outside the certificate of needs. Well, read the certificate of needs. What does it say? Okay. Now I'm going to close by giving you guys just some information. When we talk about births at Holston Valley from 2007 to 2017, okay, and 2018. So I'm gonna give you two numbers. I'm gonna state a month and I'm gonna give you two numbers. And I'm going to give you 2017 numbers and 2018 numbers, okay? So June 2017, there were 75 births. 2018, 75. July, 83 and 82. August, 91 and 88. September, 84 and 77. October, 88 and 91. November, 68 and 70. So in 2017, from June to November, for those 6 months, there were 489 babies delivered at Holston Valley. In 2018, there were 483. So when he talks about this significant decline in birth rates, you know, it might be true for the state and for the region overall, but what we know is we have about the same number of babies being born at Holston Valley that as we've always had until this month. So December last year, we had 93 babies born in, Dominic, where's Tutu's phone, honey? We had 93 babies born. Somebody do the math for me, okay? Because I can't find my phone. We had 93 babies born in December last year, right? Well, so far this year, we've only had 5 babies born at Holston Valley in December. Well, I can do this math. If I have 5 babies a week born, that's only going to be 20 babies in December, correct? But if I had 93, that's damn near 20 babies a week, right? That's over 20 babies a week. So you tell me, where are all the babies? They were fine up until last month, right? Where are the babies at right now? Do y'all see a trend? I see a trend. So when Alan Levine tells me that they are not moving babies away from Holston Valley, I disagree. And I don't think that you did last month. I think that it's a recent trend that has been standing, that has been started. Okay? So here's what I will tell you. If you are employed by Ballad Health and these changes are causing a severe restriction or a severe reduction in your employment and your hours that you're getting, then I encourage you to reach out to me with your pay stubs, with your work schedules and those sorts of things, because workforce is one of the conditions in the state health plan that is part of the certificates of needs, and the COPA does not give them grounds to operate outside of that. Okay? So just want to give you guys that little nugget, okay? Here's the thing, guys. We can talk about what the facts are. We know when there are facts. We know that things are being done, but I don't want to talk about what we know is happening. I want to talk about what we can prove. I want to talk about what we can prove that actually gives us grounds where the COPA is concerned. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the opioid addiction. So Tennessee, I don't know if you guys know this. Let me give you a couple of information, a couple of pieces. So Northeast Tennessee has the highest rate of infant mortality in the entire state of Tennessee. More babies die in Northeast Tennessee than in the entire state. That's including Nashville, that's including Memphis, that's including everywhere else. Okay? That's concerning to me. We also have a severe opioid problem here. Okay? Now, I just want y'all to think about this. If you have 25% of the babies being born at any path that are NAS or drug exposed, and you have those mothers, those aren't folks. This is what I told Mayor Clark last night when he went on his rant and said, you know, he'd be happy to drive 30 miles away to get care. And I said, well, that's because you make more money than most of the people who live here. We are in a region where you have, you know, 20 to 40% poverty. You have a high rate of opioid addiction. You have an infant and a maternal mortality rate that is higher than the country's average. Do y'all know that? So listen, the country has an average of 5.9 babies that die per 1,000 births. The state of Tennessee has 7.4. And we have more mothers that die. So here's what all the literature tells. I've been reading. So the Tennessee Justice Department has an advocate for family section. And what do they say that needs to happen? You need better prenatal care. You need more access to teen care. You need more early prevention. You need more access in rural communities. You need, you know, better OBGYN, you know, during the development phase. Like all of those things are things that need to be happening, okay? So here's one of the big issues that I have with all of these things that they're talking about doing so far. They are all post-problem solutions. They are all post-problem solutions. And so my thing is looking at, okay, so where could we better be using these dollars that truly impacts the community, that truly helps the community? Listen, I'm going to beg you all to stop talking about rumors. I'm going to beg you to stop doing that. I swear to God, if I hear anything else about another VIP floor in Bristol or freaking helicopter pads, and like, I really want you all to stop talking about the things that do not matter. Start filing your consumer affairs complaints. I swear, before you repeat another rumor and say, I heard, ask yourself this question: have I filed my complaints today? If you have not filed your complaints today, you are not allowed to spread a rumor. You're not allowed to talk about what you heard until you file a damn complaint. And it's not because, and don't get me wrong, guys, like, I know that talk is necessary and that's how we find out things, but I want your commitment to the solution to be as consistent as your talk about the problem. I'm gonna say that again. I need your commitment to the solution to be as consistent as your talk about the problem. That's what has to happen. All right, for all of you folks out there, if you have cancer treatments, if you have autoimmune disease treatments, whether that is MS, Parkinson's, and all of that, and you have been being treated at Allendale, I want to talk to you. And the reason why is, what I know is, they have not asked, they had not, they may have submitted it now, but they started moving services from Allendale to Indian Path without the state's approval. And what that did was it took you guys from physician-based pricing to hospital-based pricing, and you got facility fees attached, and it quadrupled the prices of your injections. And they're doing it because they want to obtain the 340B pricing so that they get a 35% discount, which is great for them, but horrible for people. So here's what I know. When I first started talking about that at the Board of Mayor and Aldermen's meeting 3 weeks ago in Kingsport, and when I talked about it at Scott County, right, what I know is they got really concerned because they don't have approval to do it. So here's what I need to know. If any single one of you has gone for treatment since they made you go to Indian Path, I want to see your old bills from Allendale, and I want to see your new bills from Indian Path. I want to see the change in your costs. That is documentation, guys, that we can use. But I need you to go get it for me. I can't access your stuff. Correct, Robert. So what I need are those people who have gone to the new to Indian Path for your injections and for your treatments. I need for you to give me your bills post when you were at Allendale, where you are now, and we can redact your personal information. We can redact those things so that it's not. So don't send me anybody else's stuff. Just send me your own. That way we get around HIPAA. Connie, I need to talk to your mother. I need to talk to. We need to see the prices. Those are the things that have to happen. Okay, guys, listen. I get real passionate, and I'm real vocal, but I'm not talking without action. I'm not talking just to hear myself talk. I'm talking because we have legitimate ways to go figure this stuff out. We have legitimate legal ways to have pause in this COPA, to have the COPA modified. So for me, this is the end game. Stephen, I talked about civil suits just a little bit ago, but listen, so for me, here's the end game. Okay, the end game is a brand new set of CEOs. And the end game for me is an injunction that stops these other changes. Okay, Tiffany, an injunction that stops these other changes. An independent COPA monitor who's not Gary Miller, who was already working for Wellmont, who is paid by Ballad Health. Revisions within the COPA that because there's a lot of outs in this COPA that I don't like. Correct, Terry. Itemized before and after. I need the detailed breakdowns, guys. Those are the things that I need. Perfect, LaDonna. Awesome. So, Laura, that's the thing. So here's what's crazy. They are scheduled to be finished. They are scheduled to be finished moving everyone by January 21st. The problem is the state has not given approval. Stephen, this is what I said about class actions. So I'm going to say this before I go. Okay. This is what I said about class actions. I do believe that we are probably going to have one at some point. Okay. I also believe that it has to be a multi-pronged approach. And I covered that earlier in the live, like what I believe that there's probably about 4 areas where I think that we can actually promote change. Here's what I've asked for. The biggest thing that I need everyone to do now is to file a complaint with Consumer Affairs. And when you do it, I need for you to set up an account and say yes to email communication so that you get your complaint number emailed to you. I got mine immediately. And then I need you to send me that Consumer Affairs complaint number, because when we get 40 of them, then that's going to be the justification where I go to the Attorney General and say, listen, 40 people are all that's required for a class action lawsuit. If I have 40 consumer complaints about Ballad Health, I need to know where your investigation is. Why haven't you opened one, or are you opening one, and where is it, and what's the status? But I need for people to file those Consumer Affairs complaints and give me those complaint numbers. You okay, buddy? You okay, baby? Grandbaby coughing. Okay, so so this is huge. Okay. The other thing, I'm not going to talk about this other thing, okay? Not right now anyway, but that's the big takeaways that I want you to take away from all of this, okay? As far as like how everything went, yes, it's the same for iron infusions, Melinda, yes. Any of those injections, any of those biologies that you guys are getting, that's what you need to do, okay? So hopefully this was a very informative live. You guys got some good actionable information. Please share the hell out of it. Share the hell out of it, because people need to know what they need to do for change. Right. Well, so yeah, we still want to see what those bills are. Right. No, you can send me all of them. You don't have to send me them at the same time, okay? But yeah, listen, don't let them tell you that what we're doing doesn't matter, because it does. I think everybody who watched that live stream last night could see that Ballad Health is concerned, and they need to be concerned. They need to be concerned. Either one, Rhonda. The whole email is fine. The whole email is fine. Or awesome WJ. The whole email is fine, or the numbers are fine, however you guys want to give it to me. Right, Terry, thank you. Okay, so thank you guys for participating and sticking in here and staying committed. It's your healthcare, it's your lives. So a couple big things coming up. So Tuesday night is Washington County, Virginia's council meeting. I am on the agenda there along with Tim Bradshaw and a couple of other folks. So I will be there at that meeting. I have been told that Ballad Health is going to be at the city of Bristol on Tuesday night. You know, the Bristol mayor already let me know how she felt about things last week. So Jeff, I posted a link, but I will post another one for you as well. Okay. Awesome, Gary, great. And then on the 13th is Wise County, which I'm on the agenda there as well. And then the 17th is Hawkins County, and I'm on the agenda there as well. Come out in numbers, folks, if you guys can come out. Washington County, Virginia, Terry, yeah, on the 11th. So I think that's it. And I will share this with you all because I got the email yesterday shortly before I went to the meeting last night. Can I make sure it's the show or pass that out meeting sprints? Yes. So Tim, we're actually, Tim Bradshaw and I are working on a PowerPoint presentation to go along with our spiel at the board meetings this week. So we are doing that. And I'll share that when I get it. I will see you in Hawkins County. Oh, so that's what I was getting ready to, Crystal. Okay. So shortly before I went to the meeting last night, I got an email from Tony Keck saying that based on my distrust of their leadership, the things that they've said and the things that I have said, that that he no longer sees a benefit in meeting directly with me privately anymore. So he has, Tony Keck, canceled their meeting with me on Wednesday, which, to be honest, I was expecting. I was hopeful that they wouldn't, but they did, and that's not surprising. That's okay. So nothing's changed in that regard. So it's just something different, So, when you say to me, well, you distrust our leadership, I would say you are absolutely 100% correct. To me, I don't have to trust you to meet you, though. I don't have to trust you, to not, to be able to have a rational conversation. But, to me, it's just further demonstration of who they are and how they operate. So I think there's a pretty clear picture of what that is at this point. So, but that's it. That's all I got. It's my oldest grandbaby's birthday weekend. So I'm going to hop off of here and get some snuggles in before he goes to bed. And I will be putting together some more information with you guys, for you guys later. I will absolutely share the PowerPoint, Tim. I will absolutely do that. And yeah, I'm going to be working to put some more of the information into the private Facebook group that I created as well. I haven't been able to put as much stuff in there. It's just been a whirlwind of stuff. So, it's a lot. So, but that's it. That's all I got. And y'all know how I end this thing, right? You ready? Here we go. Remember, please file your complaints. Send me your info. Let's make this happen, okay? Oh, wait, one more thing. I did have a meeting today where we are trying to put together a rally. And we're trying to put together a rally within the next 2 to 3 weeks. That is a grassroots get together, sign a petition, show our politicians in our communities and our regions, how we truly feel about what's happening with Ballad Health. So when we get a definitive date for that rally and a definitive location, I will share that information and let you guys know, okay? But it is in the works, and we're working to make it happen. So I appreciate you guys very much. Here we go. You ready? Be amazing. Be light. Be love. I'm out.